Welcome to 89's first ever wide receiver roundtable. We have Brandon Marshall over here, all-pro, 6-time Pro Bowler. I believe I'm correct on that. 13 years in the NFL. Ed McCaffrey, I see one ring on here, Ed.
Yeah.
I don't know how you pick of the three which one you wear.
Well, this is the fourth that I got for calling the game on the radio. So it's my media Super Bowl.
Now you're just rubbing it in. I was going to say 3-time Super Bowl champ, and now he's just rubbing it in. He's getting them as a media member too. Sadly, Steve, Brandon, we did not get Super Bowl rings. I don't have one either. Steve Smith right here, co-host of 89, Triple Crown winner. I have to throw that out there because we had a Triple Crown winner in Jamar Chase. This year, he was the 6th.
Hold on, when did you do that?
It happened a long time ago, bro.
You're a Triple Crown winner?
Yeah.
The first time I heard that was Cooper Kupp.
No, there's been 6. You were the 4th, I want to say.
He's not acting either. He's really confused.
No, that's a big deal.
It's a real big deal.
He's really
And
confused.
also, that's a big deal for that. Like, I never made it to the playoffs. So to hear that I can still make it to a Super Bowl, all I gotta do is call a game on the radio.
Yeah.
So which means you have to travel with the team, get paid very little money, and spend a whole entire year calling games. But I tell you what, it was a thrill of the lifetime. I worked with Dave Logan. He played in the NFL. He's a legend, and I got to work with him for 5 years calling Broncos games. Yeah. Super Bowl 48 was not the result we were looking for, but Super Bowl 50 ended up being a pretty good game. So the rings get bigger and bigger.
I love that. Well, I'll ask the Jets if I can do radio, and they pay me more because I think the Jets going to win it next year if they keep Aaron Rodgers, but that's another conversation.
We'll get to that, but let's talk about real quick who's going to win it this year, though, right? Who's going to win it this year? Let's talk about this game that's going to happen here in New Orleans, kick it off between the Philadelphia Eagles and Kansas City Chiefs. It's a rematch. I just want to kind of get everybody's take on what they think might have to happen on Sunday for Philly to win, first off, and we'll start there. What do you think needs to happen for Philadelphia to win this game?
This is very interesting because you know what Philly is. Philly's a dynamic team. They've been playing well. Philly fans get a little in their feelings.
From Philly, relax.
They get in their feelings when we talk about the dynamic of it being complicated for Philly. Being complicated when you compare quarterback to quarterback, when you compare defense versus defense. You know, if you go the old school Madden way of the checks and pluses, Philly has a lot more checks. Mm-hmm. But the problem that I see isn't necessarily can Philly or will Philly. It's the identity of the Philadelphia Eagles have been traditionally this year, they've been running away against a lot of people. Yeah. However, the habit and human nature of football, Kansas City has been performing the way they've been performing, which is tight, close games. Mm-hmm. And so when you're on a journey that you've never been on, which is if it comes to a tight game, I go with Kansas City, not because I don't think Philly can't win. I just see the Kansas City Chiefs having a better understanding of their true identity versus the Philadelphia Eagles, where all of a sudden you get yourself in a bind, where you've been running and playing so well with Saquon Barkley. I've said they don't have a identity because you have all of these dynamic playmakers on offense.
Yeah.
But really, it's just a running game, and you sparingly throw the ball when you need to. And I've said it, and I've gotten a little flack. I don't think Hurts is a bad quarterback. However, when you compare him to the Joe Burrow, the Lamar Jackson, I mean, you even look at the old head, which is Matt Stafford, and then obviously Patrick Mahomes. And Patrick Mahomes is not putting up great numbers, but Patrick Mahomes, you know what he's capable of doing if you give him enough time with the weapons he has.
You're talking about a lot of playmakers at quarterback.
We're talking about a lot of playmakers, and I just don't see Hurts as being a playmaker that makes you scared. Like, he has that element to advance the ball down the field, but does he have that magic? I just
he doesn't need to have it. He doesn't need to have it.
I understand he doesn't need to have it, and that's fine. He doesn't need to have it. Mm-hmm. But my point isn't does he need to have it? Is does he have it? And that's the thing. When I line him up, if you got these three glasses, and this is Patrick Mahomes, this is Joe Burrow, that's Lamar Jackson. If you go, where's Hurts in that?
He don't have to be there though. That's the problem though. Like,
do you think that's the luxury?
You just broke down football, 100%, and we agree in a lot of the areas.
Hold on, let me finish with this. I know he's not there, and the Philly fans don't like to hear it. That's my point. He's not that.
Yeah.
he's a really good quarterback, but he's not a tier 1 quarterback.
Yep, I agree with you there. See, but what he is he's one of the best leaders that we've ever seen in the NFL. Like, I put him up there. He's one of the best leader of men that I've ever seen in a National Football League. Think about this. He also has a Steve Smith Sr. on his team. He has a Brandon Marshall on his team. And you wasn't this, right? Like, I don't think you weren't that.
Let's find out.
You know, some people think of us as like, when you think like, that passion, that energy that we played with. AJ Brown is that. How do you manage that? That's why I put him up there, is because to have a number 1 dog receiver like that, you have to have those type of skills. And take that out of it, he just has something special about him, the way he walks in the locker room, the way he talks to the media, and it's needed.
Let me interject, though, because what you're saying, you're giving credit to a young man that doesn't deserve credit. AJ Brown is able to manage himself because of AJ Brown. Don't give Hurts more credit than he deserves.
No, I have to give him credit.
You have to give him credit, but you're giving him extra credit where AJ Brown is doing the stuff he's doing because
his inner excellence.
But that didn't happen last year, though.
I understand, but you got to also do what people don't know. Jalen Hurts is not that natural born leader everybody talk about. Jalen Hurts is an alien. He's not well received in that locker room like all of a sudden like you think.
So now you're giving us breaking news or something.
He's not Gandhi up in the room now. He's more blue cheese. He's not received all in that locker room by every single person. And here's why I say I haven't spoken to anyone that I will go on record and saying, but I do know mental health. Mm-hmm. And I do know inner excellence and focusing on yourself. And you can't allow someone else to ground you, because that's not the way God has created us.
That's 100%.
But hold on. But so if you can't give another man credit for what AJ Brown is doing for himself.
He's doing it for himself, but like, look, we're all talking about AJ Brown. We're all talking about AJ Brown. We're all talking about AJ Brown reading these books, and you and I, we're aligned on just wellness and mind and mental health, right? Man, when I played for the Chicago Bears and I was with Jay Cutler, I used to write on the sideline, right? Because of being that dynamic.
What'd you write?
Number 1. I was just writing like positive stuff, right? Like it could be at the, this week, this is the top of my route. I want to master the top of my route. Or smile. My performance coach said, Brandon, you haven't smiled in 4 weeks. Your goal, the goal of this game right now is not all the other stuff. It's just smiling. You know what happens to your team when you just smile. So I understand exactly where AJ Brown is. How I got there is because of being the number 1 receiver.
So Jay Cutler gets credit for that?
No, Jay Cutler pushed me to that.
Okay.
Right? Like that's what I'm saying. Like Jalen, you broke it down already. You already said it masterfully. Hold on. Let me finish. No,
I love it.
You broke it down. You said what? They're a running team. Mm-hmm. But you got AJ Brown, you're paying him $30 million a year almost. What we think as a number 1 receiver, what we think is the ball should come to me. So now he has to tap into everything that Steve is saying. He has to tap into all of these skills and tools to manage, to self-regulate. That's why he's reading on the sideline, because he knows I'm a number 1 receiver. He knows the ball's supposed to come to me. We know as a wide receiver that when it's one highs one-on-one here and I got to go or a route that converts, a hitch that converts to a go, the ball's coming to me. Now it's not. How do I manage that? What do we see on the sideline a lot of times with these receivers? We come to the sideline, we might throw our helmets, we might get into all these arguments. Now he's like, I don't need that to be that distraction. So I understand where AJ Brown's going there, and that's a whole nother conversation, which is why we're here actually, which would be a good segue for you and Ed to take us there. But I want to answer your question. I want to answer your first question first. I agree with a lot of Steve said, but it's not that complicated. The Philadelphia Eagles are the better team. They have the number 1 defense.
I agree.
They have the number 1 defense, and they have 2 number 1 receivers.
Yes, they do.
And they have a running game, which makes it dynamic.
Yes,
and
they do.
Also in the NFC Championship, they got back to what got them here in 2023 in this repeat. They were throwing it. They were like, playing numbers. And Jalen Hurts was more open. They actually did that in the NFC Championship against the Commanders. To me, the thing they have to overcome is the magic that you talked about. And it's not just Patrick Mahomes. It's Andy Reid, and it's also
Steve
Coach.
Spagnuolo.
Thank you. It's those 3. That's what it's going to come down to, but they are the better team. And To me, it's their game to lose, but they're gonna have to overcome that magic of those 3 guys on the other side.
Yeah, I don't want to bring up the NFC Championship game. I know Luke lost.
But you're bringing up anyway.
But I'm bringing it up to you anyway.
Yeah, you know what?
I know you wanted the Commanders to win that game,
I
Ned.
have PTSD from the NFC Championship game. I still have PTSD from last year's Super Bowl. I will not be going to the game. I was entertained by this serve and volley going back and forth. I love what Steve did when he used the glasses. I do this with my friends, especially my friend Stacy. I'll line up the glasses to try to talk about how defenses line up, and she retains none of the information. But I'll use dinner rolls or glasses or utensils or appetizers on the table. So I'm glad that you do the same thing.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, but I don't know. Everything you guys said is so interesting. Yeah.
Do people eat the dinner rolls after you were playing with your food?
Let me get that left tap.
Well, it's my friend Stacy, so like most of my wife's friends, they'll pretend to eat, but they don't really eat too much anyway. So I don't know if they're eating a whole lot of carbs before dinner. So I've done it with nacho chips and everything. You just kind of set it up and you try to explain it. The very basics of a 3-4, 4-3, odd even front, what blitzes and pressures are. But it's fun to do for me, and I don't think they retain any of it, but it's still something that
Keeps you sharp.
Obviously, I'm not the only one that does it.
No,
absolutely.
Right?
Not at all.
But I respect this game. I think it's the greatest sport in the world, greatest team sport in the world with the greatest athletes in the world. And I love hearing what you guys have to say because I have so much respect for both of you. Both future Hall of Famers in my book. Right when I retired, I stepped away from football and we didn't really get to connect as much. And then I started coming back and calling Broncos games. But I missed your stint in Denver. But it was fun to hear you talk about smiling because I always watched you from afar and thought, you look like you're having fun playing the game.
Oh, wow.
And by smiling, you open your lungs up and breathe better. That's something that I was taught. You actually can relax and breathe better when you're smiling. That's why you see guys like Usain Bolt running and they're smiling and it looks like they're just having a great time while they're running 100, but really it's opening up their lungs and helping them breathe better. But you were always someone I thought looked like they were having fun playing. And then when things did get intense, I noticed how hard you worked on yourself and healing and becoming a better person, a better football player. And I always respected that about you. But I never really got to tell you because I wasn't hanging around the team at the time. I was kind of stepping back and away from football and doing other things with my life, being a dad, being a father, pursuing other interests until I, was retired for enough years, fell back in love with the game and started calling game and having a good time with the Broncos. But I always respected your career with all the teams you played for, but especially when you were with the Broncos. And Rod Smith told me right when you joined the team that you were the real deal, which is the ultimate compliment because Rod's a legendary Denver Bronco. Another guy I think should be in the Hall of Fame.
I agree.
But when he told me you were the real deal, that's all I had to hear, and he wasn't lying. You were the real deal. So you're really fun to watch, and obviously you had a Hall of Fame career, and we're so fun to watch. And we overlapped because Christian ended up playing with the Panthers, and but I watched you before that, and we're a little closer in age, and you started right about when I was retiring.
Yeah.
But enjoyed watching you too. You guys were, great receivers, legendary receivers, and fun to watch. You look like you're having a good time. You were always really intense, and you both got it done on the field. So a lot of fun to watch. But I like what you're hearing about the mental part of the game. So when I look at the Eagles, right, I talked to A.J. Brown yesterday. He's already got his game face on. He's already ready to play, and we talked about how you guys know you can't dial a play up for yourself. You guys were blessed. You got a lot of plays dialed up for you. You can't throw the ball to yourself at wide receiver. Your targets are dependent on the play caller and on the quarterback, and then if the line gives the quarterback time to throw the ball, there's so many other things that factor. If you don't have a run game, you can get bracketed, or they can roll a safety over the top. And so when I look at the Eagles, I think Jalen Hurts has the fewest pass attempts of any starting quarterback in the league. So if you're a receiver, and I've been on these teams, and I was on the New York Football Giants. Our leading receiver had 26 catches on the season.
Which is ridiculous.
What'd you have in one game, 21 catches?
I had 21 catches.
In one game, I'm talking 26
I averaged
catches.
20 attempts a game.
Right, 20
with Jay
attempts.
Cutler and
20
Shanahan.
attempts was a whole season for me for like the first couple years of my career. And so if you're blessed to play in that type of an offense, consider yourself lucky. Not all offenses are that way. And when you have the most dominant run game, in my opinion, in the league, as a coach and a play caller, it's hard not to run the ball.
Correct.
When you're getting 5-6 yards of carry, you're controlling the ball, you're moving the chains, you're putting up a 2,000-yard rusher behind an offensive line that averages 340-some pounds across the board, and it's working. But you do have to stay ready as a receiver. You can't press. You have to have patience, because all of a sudden you could go from no catches to having 10 targets in the second half and having to catch a game when
Which is hard.
Which is hard.
Which
It's
is hard
very
because
hard.
a lot of wide receivers are like shooters.
Rhythm.
Get in rhythm.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's where we see A.J. Brown reading books on the sideline. I think it's mastery of self and mind.
It's like trying to stay in a rhythm without getting targets.
I'll say this: he is ready to go.
When I was in Denver, sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, no, he's ready to go.
When I was with Denver, Coach Jeremy Bates, our offensive coordinator, they knew it was like for my mind and also to get in rhythm physically, it's like we just got to get them a touch early. So the first 15, they would get me a screen or a bubble screen, and they would tell me and communicate or hitch just to keep me in rhythm, because that is challenging, to your point, when you have a guy and it's like, oh, well, I'm not getting the ball early, and then the second half you want to throw it to me. Well, I'm cold. Don't throw me the ball.
And that might be the case in this game, honestly.
I think it's going to be opposite.
You think you're going to throw it?
They have to throw it to win.
You're right. Everybody in the postseason has loaded the box against Saquon.
I mean,
crazy.
I was lucky to get to interview Nick Bolton and some of the defensive players on the Chiefs yesterday, and the intensity is palpable right now. But everybody talked about stopping the run, and why wouldn't you? You have to stop the run.
They got good linebackers.
So that's why I think that there's a difference between not throwing the ball a lot and not being able to throw the ball a lot. Because if you have to roll a safety up in the box, you're simplifying your coverages. You're going to allow play action passes to take place. Can A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith get open on a play action pass? They got good corners in Kansas City, right? But if you ever get a one-on-one situation because you're blitzing and you got to play man, what would you guys think if someone's trying to, any cornerback, I don't care who it is, Hall of Famer, if you're one-on-one, what are you thinking?
You already know.
What are you thinking? You're thinking touchdown, right? Like this is.
I'm
coming
being
to me.
honest. The way I look at the game now, like as a player, I just saw it one way. But now, as an analyst, I see it, and watching film, I see it differently. I think it goes both ways when you talk about rhythm for a quarterback as well. You look at these quarterbacks sometimes, and they are off target, off the mark. And so, if your first pass, you look at some of the throws that were made to A.J. Brown that were off the mark. A.J. Brown had an out route that was off the mark, and you saw Jalen Hurts kind of like put his head down because he missed it. And it was a simple throw, a easy throw for a Pro Bowler and a guy like Hurts.
Yeah.
But when you're not in rhythm, when you haven't stepped back, when you haven't done all those things, we all are shooters until you got to make the game-winning shot. And the game-winning shot adds a lot of pressure. Pressure makes diamonds, but it also floods the basement. And not always do we have the answer to excel. Sometimes we miss the shot. And when that happens, no one ever knows it. But I've seen it.
Does that change in this game when you see 15 on the other side, and when it's a pressure situation, 10 out of 10 times he makes the play? Like, does that change the way you play on your side? Because I've talked to enough other teams.
It should.
I've talked to enough teams that when they look across and they see Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes going, they make big plays in big moments. They make big plays in the fourth quarter. When the other guy makes pressure plays, does that add pressure?
Yeah, but it also comes down to great players as well. Like even like Smitty here, like when the game's on the line, you can go to him, right? Yeah. So like now you got Andy Reid, you got Patrick Mahomes, you got Spags, and you got Chris Jones, you got those guys absolutely. But I gotta fight for my guy Jalen. Like he's that. He was that in high school. He was that in Little League. He was that in college.
He was that in this game 3 years ago. That's one of the best Super Bowl performances anybody's ever had at the quarterback spot.
I understand, but let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Minus you, we all have sat in our huddle, and the play that we know is coming to us, and they say, hey, it's 136, 10 delay, right? And you're on a slot, you got the delay, guys pressed up. You know it. When they're calling a play, or you call it another play, and I've been in the huddle and the quarterback says, what do you want? And I've asked myself and I've answered. In that millisecond, I've also said, what can you throw? Because we've been sitting around for 3 quarters now. Like, Ed, am I alone with it? I've sat there going, man, I hope this is on the mark. I hope I get the right defense, because we haven't had enough data to show that they're going to do this, because you've been fooling around running the ball all day.
So you're saying all this, but you're saying all this fooling around. You're saying all this to highlight what the Eagles' potential challenges, right?
I'm not highlighting the Eagles. I'm highlighting my self-talk when I know I have a game-catching catch or a game, they got to play like, Steve, you're getting the ball. Like I walk in the huddle, when I walked in the huddle, and Ryan Kalil is the center, Travell Wharton is the guard, Piggy's the right guard, Jeff Ota, whoever else, Musa Muhammad, Ricky Pro, myself, Chris Mangum, Jonathan Stewart, or D'Angelo Williams is running back.
Dynamic.
And they're saying, they say, Steve, we need to play. Steve, we need to play.
Yep.
And I'm going, okay, I know we need to play, but I'm going to put my head down. I don't want to let my guys down, because I know if I let my guys down, this could end our season, because I'm not, this Super Bowl or whatever play this is, I know that this impacts them, their family, just like mine. And I'm going, okay, I want to play this game. I want to make this play. But I also haven't had a lot of data, because we haven't been able to run a lot of plays that I feel comfortable. So I have a little doubt that I'm going, man, I hope the defense is right.
But see, I feel like you're talking about this as if you're AJ Brown and you're the Eagles.
I'm talking about, as Steve, former player, having a smidget, a hair of doubt, right? Mm-hmm. There's a possibility, there's 50-50 that I can catch it, or that this top tier corner may give me a little headache, or give me something to think about.
Right.
And it doesn't help if I haven't had first, second, third quarter.
Right. That's right.
To set him up in the fourth quarter.
That's right.
If you gonna give me a sluggo, which is a slant and go in the fourth quarter, but I've been playing tiddlywinks, and you haven't given me a slant in the first 3 quarters, it makes the sluggo real hard to sell.
That's right. Impossible. Don't even run it.
Yes, but you got to, because you need that play.
Yeah, but now I bring it back to this, while we're finishing up this conversation on the Super Bowl. See, they have the data, the Philadelphia Eagles.
The game hasn't played yet.
No, but here's why. What got them here in 23 is
2025.
I understand that, but they did
and
it
this
in
is
the
New
NFC
Orleans, not Arizona.
And it's not that complicated. You're talking about corners and in cuts and all the delays.
I'm talking about
all
the game.
Need to throw, yes, all they need to throw is, because of the running game, right? You have this dynamic running game that you highlighted. You're going to have to put 8 in the box. Because if you can't stop the run in the National Football League, you're losing, especially when you have the #1 defense. They're going to run it till they hoisting up the Lombardi Trophy. Now you got Smitty and also the Black Batman outside. The only thing, go ball, back shoulder, slant, 9 stop. The route tree, you don't have to run the whole route tree. You don't need all of that. That's what simplifies this game for Jalen Hurts. That's what got him here in 23. Now they had to come back, because they tried to give it to him in 24. He started throwing picks. He started doing things out of the norm. And now they're saying, oh, let's go get Saquon, run. Now to win this Super Bowl, you got to do both. Run the ball, but then now you got the Black Batman out here. When he's one-on-one, it's loaded box, throw the jump ball, throw the back shoulder. And that's where it goes to 50-50 balls go to 70 to 80-20, 80-20, right? So it's going to be a great game, because you still have to overcome the magic there. So, I'm excited to watch it, man.
Yeah, I'm curious just the other side, because Steve and I did a show about this, and it was really kind of interesting when we really got in the nuts and bolts of it, of how these two receiver groups are kind of built differently.
Yep.
There's a very diplomatic approach the way Kansas City works. You look at the stats. I mean, Mahomes will target 9 guys, 10 guys in a game.
Yep.
Jalen's targeting 4, 5 in a game, right? It's spread around a lot the way Kansas City operates. It's a little bit of a different type of mold the way they operate kind of offensively. And this is a defense that's young but really good on the backside. I am kind of curious how they use Cooper DeJean and where they move him. Is it going to be against like Travis at times? That's a different matchup. Is it going to be one of these safeties? Are they going to pick on one of those guys? Like, I'm kind of curious, Ed, from a standpoint of, we talked earlier before we did this, of you going like, it's hard to get numbers and targets when you got a lot of different mouths to feed. And that's kind of the way Andy spreads it around.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's worrying about targets for people in this game.
I think that's the way Kansas City
this isn't the season,
because they don't care.
And there's some truth to what you guys say. Like, it is good to get your playmakers the ball, and throughout the season, you can script plays in your first 15 to get someone comfortable so they're not going 3 quarters without a catch. In this game, this is one game, and they have a game plan. They'll have their first 15, which is your plays on first and second down that they've scripted, that they've game planned, and they're going to have to be ready to adjust and play situational football on third down and short yardage. Vic Fangio does a great job with that defense. They rush 4 most of the time. They don't bring that much pressure. They do a great job of lining up with 2 safeties and disguising quarters, 2, 6, roll into 3. They will bracket a receiver. In my opinion, look, against Patrick Mahomes, 1, you're going to have to get some pressure rushing 4, dropping 7. You got to account for Kelsey. You can't let him catch a 5-yard catch and fall for 8 yards 10 times a game, right? He'll do that chip and dale where he sets some protection, chips and releases, or chips an edge rusher to help out his tackle, and he gets a lot of easy catches. But they play a lot of zone. They think you catch it in front of us, catch it in the kill zone, and we're going to hit you hard. And they're going to rely on a quarterback making a mistake or creating a turnover. And they do a good job of creating turnovers. But Patrick Mahomes is one of the quarterbacks that's smart enough and patient enough to take what you're giving them, and they can put 10 and 12 play drives together and score. So the question for Kansas City's offense, I think, which is opposite of Philadelphia's and what we've been talking about, can you run the ball when you need to run the ball? They got Checo and Hunt, right? And I remember a couple of years ago in the Super Bowl, it was Williams went for over 100 yards, had 2 touchdowns, one was called back, but he was almost the MVP of the game. And Patrick Mahomes was willing to get him into a run play if they had to. It's like, I want to win the game. And he made plays with his feet. So it's not what they've done all year. It's like, if Kansas City has to run the football, can they? If the Eagles are playing a little softer and dropping 7 and rushing 4. And for Philadelphia, it's the opposite. You can run the ball. By the way, Hurts has 14 rushing touchdowns as quarterback.
Correct.
And he's a powerful runner.
Yes.
And they have 1 play on their 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 call sheet called the tush push. So if they can run the football, Kansas City has the opposite problem. Can Philadelphia complete passes? If they're running the ball, which is their identity on offense, then you're going to get an extra safety in the box, which opens things up. You're either playing man, and A.J. Brown and Smith are going to be one-on-one with an opportunity to make a big play, or your linebackers are pressing up and you're going to have openings in zones behind them. And so I think the key for Philadelphia, you have to run the ball. If they stack the box, because if you want to stop the run, you can stop it, period. I don't care who you are. If you want to stop the run, you bring an extra player, you stop the run. Now, play action passes are going to be huge for Philly. I also think it'll behoove Philly to be in the lead at the end of the game. You don't want to give Patrick Mahomes the ball on the last possession of the game. I think they're better when they go up tempo than they are with their regular offense. But, whether Andy Reid saves plays for the 2-minute drill or whether they're just actually better that way, but they don't want to tire the defense by going up tempo, I don't know. But Philadelphia's got to run the ball. Kansas City's got to stop the run. And they know that. But when you do that, you got shots down the field. That's the key to having a good run game. I think you got to have a plan for Kelsey. Look, if other guys beat you, and they got some speedsters, right? Hollywood Brown, they got Xavier Worthy. If you don't get there rushing 4 and you give them time to hold the safety and run a post route over the top, those dudes can run. Right? And so that's where this could be a game where if Kansas City can protect, you see some big time chunk plays over the top.
That you haven't seen all year.
Yeah, that you haven't seen all year. So for me, kind of like the Kansas City game a few years ago when they had to run the football to win, can they run it if they have to? If Philly's dropping 7, and then for Philly, can you connect on those play action passes? Early, probably. They got to take some shots early.
So what I hear you saying is, which team adjusts better and can stick with it?
Well, I think early on will be important too, because we could see Jalen Hurts go up top 3 times in the first quarter, and maybe you weren't expecting it. Maybe they're loading the box early. Usually with the first 15, you might have some shot plays in there, but usually you're running different formations, different motions, you're shifting. And that's why you're right about adapting those halftime notes. And Fangio does a good job on defense. Spags does a good job on defense. The offense is taking notes. What did we see that we didn't hit in the first half? What did we set up? You're talking about running slant routes. Did we run the slant route? Was he jumping? Is he ready for the double move? And what part of the field are they going, man? Are they bracketing someone? What are they doing to Kelsey? Are we ready to hold that safety and go over the top and take our shot? And then look, you're going to get 3 to 5 plays in the game. Do you hit them or not?
That's what it comes down to. It comes down to the 3 to 5. But I disagree with you guys on this Eagles thing, man. I just think the Eagles, we talk about formulas in the National Football League, and we say defense win championships, and we also understand what happens to a team when you can run the football. And then when you also have dynamic number 1 wide receivers out there, you have 2. The Philadelphia Eagles, how do you stop it? Y'all had this in Denver where y'all had 3 guys go over 1,000. Y'all also had a 2,000-yard runner. Like, think about the position that puts defenses in, and maybe you can talk a little to this because you experienced this. Like, y'all can do whatever you want. So to me, it's about Jalen Hurts beating Spags. It's about, are the Eagles going to mess it up? Because all we got to do is run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. Give me numbers, and I got my dynamic guys outside, and it goes down to the playmakers. Are you going to make the play? It don't need to be a perfect pass when you got A.J. Brown and Smitty. Throw it up, or throw the back shoulder, throw the slant, throw the 9 stop. I just feel like the Eagles got to just stick to their identity adjustments. Just look at the box.
I'm agreeing with you. We're not disagreeing. Yeah. I mean, when you can run the ball and win that way, it does a couple of things. One, you control the game, you control the clock, you're moving the chains, and you're also keeping Patrick Mahomes and their offense off the field. Yeah. You can't score sitting over there by the Gatorade cooler. Like with our team, I would play with so many great players, right? You're talking about Shannon Sharp, John Elway, Rod Smith. We were loaded. TD. Great offensive line. TD is a 2,000-yard rush. Gave me a Rolex for his 2,000 yards. He gave him to the receivers too. No, I'm not wearing it.
Okay, you wore the Apple Watch.
That one is locked up with the Super Bowl rings that I earned by playing. But like after John retired, Rod and I had over 100 catches apiece.
That's right.
But in Super Bowl 32, I think John threw for like 132 yards. Yours truly led the team in receiving with, I think, 29 yards or something. It was not a lot of yards.
He flexing all over my show. But goodness gracious, watch, Super Bowl, catches.
To your point too, when you have multiple weapons, when you can run and throw the ball, you can take what the defense gives you. It's not that we couldn't throw the ball. It's that we're gouging them in the run game and wearing them out. And so that's what's working. In our case, we kept Brett Favre and their explosive offense off the field, moved the ball up and down, tired out their D-line. We didn't have to throw the football as much, but when we did throw it, we had to make plays. And that, I think Philadelphia's in a similar situation in that you watch this offensive line, these dudes are moving people. And no disrespect to Kansas City. And Spags, if they're having trouble stopping them, he'll bring a safety in the box. But then it's opening up big plays in the passing game. If Rod could make those big plays, like he did against Atlanta in Super Bowl 33, where we ran that post route and took it to the house, and I'm like, that was the game. In my opinion, that big play action pass, the game was over already, in my mind. I'm like, they're never catching us now. And that's what the situation Philadelphia's in. I think getting off to a fast start is important. I think keeping true to your identity, running the football. If they do, and they got to try to go by them early, but if they hit a go route or a post route or have a couple of big chunk plays in the first half, that's going to take the pressure off that run game, and they're going to play their style of football. If they miss those shots early, and Spags is able to blitz the run, blitz the pass,
it does have an impact.
It'll have an impact, yeah, for sure.